get our full-blown acceleration here now with the CX-30 Turbo. Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, we're gonna be going over a 2021 Mazda CX-30 Turbo. But first and foremost, a huge shout out and thank you to Southtown Mazda here in Utah for giving me some time with this CX-30. Check out the inventory link below. Let's get straight into the video. Under the hood of the CX-30, we have a turbocharged 2.5 liter four-cylinder that goes through a 6-speed automatic transmission. Fuel economy is 22 around town and then 30 on the highway, with power outputs being 227 horsepower and then 310 pound-feet of torque. Now let's go over the front end of the CX-30 Turbo. So first off, I swear it's dumped like an inch or two in the last like 5 or 10 minutes. It's snowing like crazy, which is perfect for today's review because this is like an all-wheel drive crazy hatchback. But anyways, with the hood, well, I mean, with what we can see on the hood, you kind of have this like really cool flat type design on the hood. Looks really cool and aggressive. And we've got full LED lights with the LED projector lights that obviously just popped off. We've got the Mazda logo there in the center that doubles as a sensor. And other than that, you've got like Mazda's normal design language here on the front end. Looks really good, looks really aggressive. Coming around the side here, we've got two 15mm tires wrapped around 18-inch wheels in the front and over in the rear as well. I love how they did kind of like the really dark metallic gray here on the wheels themselves. I think it just looks absolutely fantastic with the rest of the car. It almost looks like black on the camera, but it's like a really, really dark gray. You got the plastic molding that goes all along the side of the CX-30 as well. Notice they blacked out the mirrors. And then other than that, here is your full side view on the CX-30 Turbo. Hop into the back here of the CX-30 Turbo. So first off, you get your custom CX-30 floor mats, which is pretty nice. And there is some extra storage space underneath that also carries the spare tire. And then in terms of cargo capacity, it's actually really big back here, which, I mean, again, this is kind of like almost like a lifted hatchback in a way. And it just has a massive amount of storage space here in the back. But yeah, that's the back of the CX-30. Let's finish things up here in the rear. So first off, I really like the look of the taillights here on the CX-30. I just love how it's kind of like loops here. Again, super similar to what you get on the Mazda 3 hatchback. And then you've got all your regular badges back here, and then you do get a Skyactiv turbo badge on the back end, so everyone knows you got the turbocharged bad boy. And then you've got the exhaust tips here at the bottom, which pretty decent size, definitely gives it a sporty look with the dual outlet exhaust kind of appearance. But yeah, other than that, there's the rest of the rear. Let's go over the back door panel here. So first off, really nice soft touch leather here in the door panel, and then where you rest your arm as well, and you got the stitching that goes across. It's kind of like brown in coloration. Hopefully it's popping through into the camera. Got your little window control right there. And then we've got the seats here in the CX-30. So it's pretty cool with the overall design. So you've got really nice leather on the seats. You've got the perforated leather here in the center portion. But then notice if you look really close in the perforations, you can kind of see the brown behind the perforations. Kind of ties everything in. Interior-wise, looks really nice in person. It doesn't really come through too well in camera, but let's actually pop in. So I do have to duck just a little bit. But now that I'm back here, in terms of headroom, I'm 5'11", and while I fit here, legroom's a little bit more on the cramped side. Got a couple of vents back here, and then we've got this little armrest cup holder thing that you kind of have to wrestle with. There you go. It's pretty big, but you've got your cup holders right there, and that's the back of the CX-30. Going over the door panel here in the front, they kind of continue the theme with the brown leather here, and it kind of comes up here on the top as well. You've got your door lock and unlock, and then yes, this does come with the Bose sound system. All of your window controls, and then you got your mirror adjustments. And then here are the seats at the front. So just like the seats in the rear, really nice leather. And then if you look really close into the perforations there on the seat, you can kind of see the brown there in the back. I'd recommend looking at one of these in person so you guys can kind of see what I'm talking about here with the leather. Really nice bolsters just down below. And then you've got your power adjustments there on the side of the seat. And then you've got the pedals here at the very bottom. And then you've got this for the rear hatch. You've got this for the memory seats right there. And then we've got this for the safety tech. And then this is actually your hill climb assist, because yes, it's an SUV, so you've got to have some off-road cred. And then there's one more look before we actually pop in. Here's the steering wheel in the CX-30. So first off, you've got really nice leather all around, and you've got the black stitching on the center portion. You've got your cruise controls here on this side of the steering wheel, and you've got your phone controls and your volume controls on the other side. And then notice that you've got these really small paddles there behind it, but you do get paddles to shift the gears yourself. And then you got little light slash turn signal stalk, and then you got the windshield wiper stalk on the other side. And that's all for the steering wheel. Now here's the gauge cluster in the center portion of the CX-30. You've got the RPMs over on the left side. Over on the right side, you've got the fuel gauge and the temperature gauge. You got the speedo there in the center, and then you can scroll through a couple of menus here. I love how it like fully changes the gauge readout depending on what you're going. I love that look of it. I mean, the analog gauge is pretty cool, but like that just looks like futuristic in a way. So first off, we're gonna pop it into reverse. We can go over the camera aspect of it. You've got a backup camera right there with the trajectory lines. Resolution on the camera is really good. And the other thing is the mirror does tilt down when you pop it into reverse, so it's kind of like another little feature. Now, as for the rest of the infotainment system, it's actually controlled via a little dial and some shortcut buttons. It's actually really easy to use overall. Like, you just have all the shortcut buttons you can press to get to all of the different menus here on the CX-30. I think it's a really seamless system. Would it be cool if it was a touchscreen? Yes, but this works well enough that I don't really feel the need for this to be a touchscreen. Now we've got our climate controls down here, and this does come with a dual zone climate, which is nice. You've got your heated seats and your heated steering wheel as well, and then the hazard lights all in that little section. And trust me, the climate controls are well used today because it just keeps on snowing and snowing and snowing, and I would not be able to exist without the defroster right here. But anyways, below that we've got some extra storage space right here, and then you can see you've got a little USB in that area, and then you've got a couple of cup holders. We've got a bunch of stuff happening here. We've got the shifter for that 6-speed automatic, and it does have a manual shift function if you do want to shift the gears yourself. And then you've got your sport mode, which is pretty simple. Push it up, you got the sport on. Push it down, you got the sport off. Sport on, sport off. Sport on, sport off. Just imagine Mr. Miyagi, instead of wax on, wax off, it's sport on, sport off. Anyways, down here, you've got the little dial here to control the infotainment system, and then you've got your volume control right next to it, and then your little favorite button. Parking brake right there, and then you've got your auto hold, and then notice the nice leather all around with the stitching in that whole area, but that's the shifter area. Here's the center console, so you've got the leather here at the top again, and then it does slide back to open up the whole center console. Pretty cool little system. You can charge more devices, and I just love the fact that you have like the little like slide back function on it. Definitely unique. And notice when you slide it back, the stitching almost like lines up. It's almost like they designed this stuff into the car. Soft touch here all along the dash, and then notice you've got the stitching here at the top, which all connects with that little portion right there. Another nice design detail. And then coming down to the vents, notice again the design detail here, how this kind of like all continues in one little line across the car. And then you got the glove box, which is a normal glove box. I like how they did this for the actual opener instead of just like a little plastic piece like what most car manufacturers do. But that's everything for the dash. Now up top here, we've got our sunglass holder, and then this does come with a sunroof, which is another nice little option. We're not going to open it because I don't want to get snowed on. And other than that, that's everything for the top. Now that we're done going to the interior on the CX-30, let's quickly get into the pricing. So in terms of pricing, the CX-30 Turbo in the premium package, stickers for about $33,000 before any type of market adjustment, which I think that's a really good value for all the stuff that you get with this particular car, between the all-wheel drive, the upgraded interior, and then obviously the turbocharged engine as well. That being said though, let's take her out and see how she drives. Well, let's talk about visibility here in the CX-30, and as you guys can see, the windshield is defrosting, so we'll talk about front visibility in just a second as it defrosts. You've got your visibility through both of the side mirrors, and they do have blind spot monitoring, and then you got the visibility all throughout the rest of the rear, which, I mean, for being kind of like a smaller type, like hatchback, like lifted hatchback SUV type vehicle, visibility is actually pretty solid. We'll throw on the defroster a little bit higher with that so we can kind of clear off the windshield a little bit more. But yeah, you guys can see visibility over the hood. I mean, it's really easy to see out of it. It's kind of just like a shorter type hood in terms of like the length, and then also it's like relatively flat, so it's easy to see out over. And that all being said, let's set off. Well, as you can see, we are setting off here in the CX-30 Turbo, and snowing quite a bit, but it looks like it's still not sticking on the roads, so it's not going to be too crazy for us. This is going to be more like a wet road driving than it is snow driving, and the snow is kind of like mini, it's like almost like mini hail. That's like a best way for me to describe the snow today. But let's actually get up and going here with the CX-30 Turbo. Decent low end torque there. So getting up and actually moving here with the CX-30 Turbo, it's actually really smooth. definitely kind of feels more like a luxury vehicle than anything else from a ride quality perspective. The handling's really good. The steering feel that you get in this car is definitely a step above any of the competitors in this segment. It definitely has just more of a sporty feel. Look at this. This is Utah. It's freaking like a blizzard behind us, and then we're getting over here and it's like clear. Oh man, this is such a weird place to live in. But yeah, it definitely, like, it just handles and feels just so much nicer compared to the other cars in this segment. It almost just has this like sporty type feel to it, whereas the other competitors, I'll be honest, they don't really feel sporty like this. But let's actually get up and get our minor acceleration here with the CX-30 Turbo. So doing partial throttle, and we are in the sport mode. It's actually pretty good. It's got a decent amount of torque, but we'll pop it over into the manual mode. Those gear shifts are nice. I love the look of the gear shift as it goes down with like from the 2 to the 1, but let's actually get our full-blown acceleration here now with the CX-30 Turbo. There is definitely a pause between gear shifts. The 6-speed isn't the quickest transmission, but it is actually pretty smooth once you go from gear to gear. It just does take a second to actually shift. And let me actually do that in the automatic mode and see if that kind of does anything differently. I'm going to slow down here a little bit. A little bit better in the automatic mode, if I'm being honest. This thing's fast. You can get speeding tickets with this pretty quick. This thing like gets up to speed really quick. 227 horsepower and 310 pound-feet of torque is no joke in a vehicle this small. That's what I love about these Mazdas. And that'll actually get me into summing things up with the CX-30 Turbo. So first off, the exterior, I love the new CX-30. I think it's a really good looking kind of like smaller sized SUV, and maybe I should move the steering wheel down a little bit so you guys can see the gauge cluster better. But yeah, I definitely think it's a really good looking vehicle from the outside. It just basically looks like a lifted Mazda 3 hatchback with a little bit more added to it basically. I think and also like compared to the competitors like the Crosstrek especially, this looks way better than a Crosstrek. If you ask me, it looks like a luxury car. As the Crosstrek, so it's okay looking. And then from an interior perspective, just gorgeous, like really nice materials. Like all this is soft touch. You got nice stitching here at the top. The steering wheel looks and feels really nice. You feel like you're in a luxury car here on the CX-30. So it's kind of like you get the best of both. You get a car that's at a reasonable price. You've got the all-wheel drive. You've got the performance from the turbo. You've got a really nice interior. Feels like a luxury car. And yeah, I mean, it really does have everything. And that kind of like brings me to like my main point with the CX-30. In this segment right now, there's really nothing else that compares to the CX-30 Turbo. There's nothing else that really has the same level of performance and luxury and looks and is at a reasonable price like this. And so if you're looking for a fun to drive luxury type SUV that's smaller, right? You don't need like a massive SUV because you don't have kids or anything, then that's where the CX-30 really shines. And this turbo model is just, I love it. I think this is a great package for the money. If I was in the market for something like this, this is the one that I personally would pick. Now, that is going to sum things up for our video on this 2021 Mazda CX-30 with the turbocharged engine. And again, a huge shout out and thank you to the Southtown Mazda here in Utah for giving me some time with this CX-30 Turbo. Check out the inventory link below. I'll see all of you in the next video.